I'm going to be so honest with you guys. I did make a video last month saying that I think Gojo would be coming back, and now that it seems like he may have, I can't tell if Gege is trolling us and this is actually Gojo, or if this is a vision that Sukuna is just having because he's near death. And there are a bunch of other very interesting things that happen in chapter 260, but the main focus of this video will be talking about whether or not Gojo is actually coming back based on the translations we've gotten from the translators on Twitter, plus what we know about how Gege portrays basically ghost characters like Gojo here. So we're going to look at all of those things, like past statements, past occurrences where ghosts have appeared, and also the editor's comment at the end of this chapter where it says the unmistakable eyes. So we'll just talk about all of that and see if Gojo is actually here or if we are all being trolled. So only about 10% of you guys that watch the videos are subscribed. So if you haven't subbed but you enjoy the vids, then I'd really appreciate it if you did. So starting off, one of the translators on Twitter that got to the chapter first goes by the name Bachi on Twitter. For page 19, he says, the narrator comments, with Sukuna's high efficiency and curse energy, even if his curse energy has been reduced to equal Yuta Akotsu's level, if he can just regain his burnt out curse technique, he can open a domain multiple times. Then we see Sukuna pop the domain expansion, or he's about to, but then the narrator says Sukuna has witnessed him, the strongest ghost that he himself killed by his own hands. That eye is unmistakably ... So here there are two things we need to cover. One, Sukuna is undeniably seeing Gojo. Whether he's actually there, this is some vision. Seeing Gojo has stopped Sukuna from doing his domain expansion. And two, it says the strongest ghost that he himself killed. So either Gege is saying that the Gojo we are seeing right now is the ghost of the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer, or Gege is just calling Gojo a ghost, sort of how, like, you guys ever play any video games where they ask, oh, who is this person? He's a ghost. Or any movies where they say, oh, this guy's a ghost. They're not literally saying the guy isn't there. It's rather a figure of speech. So we either have this predicament where Gege is using a figure of speech to say this is actually Gojo, but he's like a ghost given the circumstance that he's come back to life, or he's a literal ghost that Sukuna is just imagining. And there are a couple things that we can try to use to deduce whether or not Gojo is actually here. One, has Gege ever used this type of paneling before? Because think about it, we get a third point of view perspective of Gojo there, meaning that we're not getting the point of view of Sukuna, we are seeing Gojo in the mist. Then at the bottom panel, we see Gojo from Sukuna's point of view. We have to break down if, because we see Gojo in the smoke from a third person point of view, does that mean that Gojo is actually there? Well, there has been one time before that Gege has used a third person point of view for showing somebody that wasn't actually there. In chapter 120, we see although Nanami has been hallucinating, throughout the whole seeing Malaysia being on the beach thing, we do see a third person shot of Haibara with his back towards us but looking towards Nanami. This is the only time that we get a third person's perspective, basically showing that although we're not seeing from Nanami's eyes, we are still seeing Haibara on panel. So it's not the first time that we've seen a third person perspective showing somebody that's not there. You see, there is a difference between this Haibara example and the Sukuna Gojo one. In the third person perspective that we get in the Nanami Haibara scenario, the entire background is whited out. Basically Gege letting us know this is entirely fake. It's not actually Haibara being here. But in the Sukuna Gojo example, the whole background is still there. We see all of the rubble, the smoke that Sukuna and Yuji have caused, and then we see Gojo emerging from the smoke. So it's not the exact same. Although we have had somebody who's not there pop up on panel in the past, Gojo is there with the surroundings, whereas Haibara and Nanami just had a blank page entirely. So even after we've covered the fact that there's a third person point of view, we're still not sure exactly if this confirms whether Gojo is here or not. So let's look at another clue. If this is actually Gojo, why did Yuji and Todo not feel Gojo coming in the slightest? Yuji is still completely locked in on Sukuna, and it seems like Sukuna is the only person that noticed that Gojo was there. First, let's look at this from the idea that this is actually Gojo standing before us. Why does it make sense that Yuji didn't even look over, whereas Sukuna did? Well, we know that, first of all, if Gojo was there, then Yuji should have been able to feel him. We know that they can always feel these large amounts of curse energy from even far away. We got this displayed before Gojo and Sukuna fought. They could feel each other's curse energy from all the way across the city. Remember when Yuta put up on Yuji for the first time? Yuji actually thought this was Gojo just by feeling Yuta's presence. So we do know that if Gojo's standing there, Yuji should be able to sense him undoubtedly. So why isn't Yuji even looking that way? Well, there are actually a couple answers to this. The first answer is Yuji actually does feel Gojo, but Gege just didn't show us Yuji looking over yet. Gege wanted to show Sukuna looking over first, as Sukuna was the first to notice him. So just because we see Sukuna noticing Gojo doesn't mean Yuji didn't. We just know that Sukuna noticed Gojo first. That's the first answer as to why Yuji didn't look that way. The second answer is maybe Yuji is so locked in on Sukuna. You know, he's been landing black flashes. He's so close to actually dealing very crucial damage to Sukuna to the point there may be no return for him. So in order for Yuji to secure a victory, he's just so dialed in, he's only focusing on Sukuna, and because he's so locked in, he doesn't notice Gojo a couple yards away. So those are the two answers to why Yuji didn't look over if Gojo is actually there. Either he's about to, but Gege didn't show us Yuji looking over yet because Gege wanted to show Sukuna noticing first, or Yuji just actually doesn't feel him because he's so locked in. But if Gojo's not there, then that would be one of the reasons why Yuji doesn't look over. Yuji's not looking over because, well, there's no reason to. There's nobody there at all. We do know it is a thing in Jujutsu Kaisen when somebody is on their deathbed, they do have visions sometimes. Like Anonimi, when he was about to die, he began to see Haibara, and he even imagined himself on the beach. So maybe, just maybe, since Sukuna is close to death, he's just imagining Gojo. And you might be wondering, okay, well, if Sukuna was to imagine anything, why Gojo? And the thing is, Gojo is the only person in 1,000 years to actually make Sukuna feel some sort of fear. Now Sukuna has his back to the wall, possibly near death right now, and might be feeling fear again. And because he's now feeling fear again, he's getting a vision of the person who first made him felt fear for the first time in 1,000 years. So this would be a reason as to why he's seeing Gojo if Gojo isn't there, because Gojo is a reminder of the first time he felt fear, the first person who actually gave him a real challenge. And because Sukuna's back is to the wall right now, and he might be dying soon, he's beginning to get visions of Gojo. And you know, there's something about this Gojo panel I haven't talked about yet. This is a spitting image of when Gojo came back against Toji. The paneling is the exact same. One eye showing, his head slightly tilted down with his hair down as well. So we do have this paneling that is the exact same as the one in the past. And we do know that Gege was accurate with callbacks. Remember when Maki stabbed Sukuna in the back? This was a spitting image of when Toji stabbed Gojo in the back. So we do know that Gege does like to call back to old panels, and this could just be another way that Gege is calling back to the panel where Gojo came back for the first time. And you know, this would make sense. Gojo was undoubtedly we thought he was dead the first time. Toji had stabbed him in the head and stabbed him a bunch of times all throughout the body, and Gojo pops up with this exact same paneling that we are seeing now versus Sukuna. Gege is undeniably trying to show some form of resemblance, and the thing is, I did make a full video about reasons why I thought Gojo would be coming back. I'm not going to repeat everything I said in that video. If you do want to check it out, I will have it linked in the description. But in that video, I did go over a bunch of reasons why I think that Gojo would have been returning, and now we're seeing Gojo again. I'll just tell you, the main reason in that video was we saw that Jujutsu Kaisen hosted a live stream, and in this live stream it was a 5-hour video of Gojo's life. But at the last moment of the live stream, it showed the airport was empty, signifying that Gojo was no longer there. There are other reasons too, that's not the only reason. And if you are interested in hints that Gege has been giving about a Gojo return, then I highly suggest you check out that video. So when it comes to my answer on whether or not Gojo is back, I'm not 100% sure. I don't think anybody is certain. Gege is 100% leaving it in the air right now. I am leaning more towards the idea that Gojo is coming back. I want to say about 60% sure this is actually Gojo. But something about the way Gojo came back, the paneling, even though it does resemble the past, could be Gege messing with us, just showing Sukuna seeing a ghost, seeing the ghost of Gojo, since Gojo was the first person that made him feel fear, and now that he's feeling fear again, you know, he's possibly about to die, he's just seeing Gojo again. Gege could be doing that, so I'm not entirely certain that this is Gojo, but for the reasons I've put in this video and also the reasons I've put in the other video, I am leaning more towards the idea that this is actually Gojo. But as I said, Gege could be trolling us. There's no way for us to know right now whether this is him or not. That is just my opinion, that I think this is most likely him. But the only thing we can do is just to wait and see what Gege decides to do, because there is no break next week, so we will get our answer in exactly 7 days. With that being said, I want to thank you so much for reaching the end of the video, and if you enjoyed, then I would really appreciate it if you leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as I do post on different topics that you guys give me and topics that I come up with on my own. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.